we have 2 videos, right? But we're only gonna watch this one. I'm gonna watch the other one with Jion. This video. How do I make my camera bigger? Put the vid bladder. Look, fucking Lynch. I don't give a fuck what you're talking about. All I know is the Red Wings will clear that team. But look, this video is called 15 Disturbing Pieces of Evidence in the David Case. We're going to watch this, and at the end, we're basically going to see, we're all going to take a vote and see if he's like guilty as fuck or not. Because you never know, you don't. I don't know. The allegations are crazy. I feel like people like this are pieces of shit. But we don't want to presume anybody guilty without, a trial and things like that. But fuck David. The Red Wings are not even in the playoffs, bro. Okay, they're just taking a break this year. And because they're only not in the playoffs because the Pistons are in the playoffs right now. They're just taking a break. Please, video better not be ass. 15 pieces of evidence right here.
It, I want to explain it, and I also want to talk about what the defense may do. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
Hey, is the audio good or no?
All right, real quick, look, I know we're all looking for ways to be smarter with our money in 2026, and most of us are earning next to nothing.
No, come on. Are we really going to do an ad? No, we can still hear your annoying voice. Wow. Wow. How about I ban you until next year?
Really get an opportunity to do, I think, in our prior episodes, is to really understand how strong is the evidence against David. Kind of gives us a preview of what a preliminary hearing will look like, now scheduled from later in the month. Again, that's where the prosecution will present sufficient evidence to have the case move forward towards trial. That's what they're hoped to do. They'll have a challenge from the defense.
Matter of fact, fuck you. Right now, gun to the back of your head, name 3 vegetables, you fucking chud. Name them right now. Name 3. Somebody name 3 right now. I have a chat room full of chuds. Okay, then. That's what I thought.
Or even what we could expect from a trial. And when I talk about the evidence, maybe what's the most compelling evidence, right? Because we spent an episode really diving into the disturbing allegations that came out. But now I want to put...
Me? Name one? Strawberry.
My legal cap on for a minute. I want to talk about the allegations, the alleged evidence, how strong...
Wait, no, that's a... So
we're talking about 21-year-old David Anthony Burke, goes by David, months after 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez was found dead, mutilated, reportedly in David's Tesla at a Hollywood tow yard. Prosecutors have charged him, the singer-songwriter, with first-degree murder, continuous sexual abuse of a child under 14, and unlawful mutilation of human remains. He's entered a not guilty plea. It is important to remember that he's innocent until proven guilty. But let's talk about the potential evidence here. I want to start with the murder charge that's also connected to the mutilation charge. In fact, all the charges are very, very connected to one another, and the theory is connected to one another. So we go to the brief that was filed by the prosecution in anticipation of the preliminary hearing. It was first set for this week. It's now been delayed. But it says, quote, tellingly, defendant subsequently purchased tools to carry out his plot to dismember and dispose of the victim's body. On April 24th, 2025, remember, they are saying that she was killed on April 23rd, 2025, at his house. On April 24th...
That's what I'm saying, bro. You're a grown man. Like, bro, this is why I be saying, like, people are just not right in the head. They're so fucked up. You're a grown man. You're damn near in a position to fuck any bitch you want. You have money. Why are you being weird? Like, that shit is so damn weird. Like, what the fuck? People are just sick in the head.
2025 defendant.
Tulak, that's why you gotta watch out. You gotta watch out for those friends, those senior friends that are fucking with the freshmen. I actually think the money makes them go insane. Well, yeah, that too. That could also be play a big role because people when they have money, they just feel like they do whatever the fuck they want. Well, they're junior friends. Same shit.
Ordered a shovel from Home Depot that was delivered to his home from Postmates.
What?
On May 1st, 2025, defendant ordered and subsequently Amazon delivered 2 chainsaws to his home. On May...
Bro, what the fuck? He's stupid. He's damn near door dashing his tools.
May 5th, 2025, defendant ordered and Amazon subsequently delivered a body bag, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a blue inflatable pool to his home. He made these purchases under the fake name Victoria Mendez. On May 8th, 2025, defendant returned to the same area in Santa Barbara County, leaving his home at around 11:30 p.m. He returned to the area again on May 31st, 2025. This is an isolated site off SR 154 where the victim's identification was subsequently discovered in January 2026. Additionally, on July 7th, 2025, defendant ordered and subsequently Amazon delivered a burn cage to his home under the same fake name as part of his plan to incinerate evidence. Moreover, defendant took horrifying measures to destroy and discard the victim's body. After placing her body into the blue inflatable pool to prevent her blood from spilling onto his garage floor, defendant used a chainsaw and perhaps other tools to cut off her limbs. Small blue plastic fragments were found embedded in the victim's remains, which were collected by the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Department.
Wait. So when this shit first came out, right? Because this isn't new, right? This happened like, how long has it been? A year? Yeah, May 2025. If this shit happened so long ago and they figured out all of this shit, why didn't they give his ass the can then? That's what I'm trying to figure out. And I feel like everybody else online is trying to figure out the same thing. Why did it take so long when people on the internet were already like playing detective work, which is crazy as fuck, by the way. So yeah. But again, I feel like you got to prove that he's guilty or whatever. But yeah, let's just see what else happened. Lawyers crazy. I'm not gonna lie, just off that little bit of evidence right there, and if they can actually tie him to those orders, I don't think he has a case, bro. He can't. Well, they have a big case on him, but there's no way you can defend that. I don't know, bro. That shit's so fucked up, man. I honestly feel bad for the victim and the family. That's a crazy thing to have your family member just have their whole shit blasted on the internet because he's a what is he? Like a Z-list artist?
Fragments were analyzed by the LAPD's Forensic Science Division Trace Analysis Unit. An expert was able to match a physical fit match from the blue fragments to the blue inflatable pool purchased by defendant in May 2025. In order to distance himself from the victim, he amputated her left ring and pinky fingers because her ring finger contained a tattoo of his name. Her fingers have not been recovered. Defendant then placed her head and torso into the cadaver bag he purchased. He placed her limbs into a garbage bag, which he deposited into his front trunk, laying the cadaver bag on top. For several weeks or possibly months, defendant left the victim's body to decompose inside his Tesla. Okay.
What the fuck? Bro. Okay, no. Now this is probably where they pointed like this got to be him. If he amputated the tattoo several weeks, but he's an idiot. Yeah, like another thing too. Why are you letting a body decompose in a trunk? And where does he live? If it's somewhere where it's always hot, then it most definitely smell like straight shit. Or like, I don't know. I've never smelled a decomposing body, but whenever somebody explains it, it smells very bad. Like the smell you would never forget. But damn, cutting off her finger because it had his name on it is crazy. LA? Oh yeah, I know bro, isn't it like always hot in LA or some shit like that? Yeah. What the fuck?
Okay. Of course, there will be a battle of experts and questions of how the evidence was collected, what does it mean, how it was maintained, but potentially making the blue fragments match.
Is that Jason the Ween? There's got to be Jason the Ween, all right? All right, let me chill the fuck out.
Is huge. If you match the pool to him, you match the pool to Celeste, that's going to be critical. The alleged purchase history, this digital trail, some of the most potentially damning evidence out there. We have seen historically that has been hard for defense attorneys to argue away or explain away. You know, I saw this idea that perhaps maybe these materials were purchased for some sort of music video, that could be a tough sell. Particularly, you talk about the timing, right? The timing of when authorities say Celeste was killed, unless there's going to be a dispute, not only about cause of death by the defense, but also time of death.
Hey, Chad, how old was she?
Why would you allegedly purchase those things? And if the order and delivery records confirm this, that's huge for the prosecution's case. I mean, the list of potential evidence in this brief.
She was 14. Bro, what the fuck? What the fuck? What is she doing? Did she live in LA too? Like, how did they meet? How do you even meet a 14-year-old? Like, that's how it. Like, that's absurd, bro. Shit, and not even trying to put the blame on the parents either. But like, how do you let your daughter? Well, actually, never mind. That's a dumb question, bro. Kids are sneaky as fuck these days, so that's probably what happened. Yeah, but you got to think, kids are very sneaky these days. Very sneaky. David's got to go. Yeah, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Like, that's a lot of evidence so far. Okay, so far I really feel like he's a piece of shit. He's guilty. Actually, there's no but. They find when they find him guilty for this shit, they need to put him in prison, in general public, or general with everybody, bro. They just need to put him in general population so that he can get fucked in his ass for the rest of his life. Ooh.
Says, quote, DNA evidence developed from bloodstains collected from defendant's garage which match the victim's genetic profile. Proof of defendant's Amazon purchases and deliveries to his residence, including 2 chainsaws, a body bag, an inflatable pool, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a burn cage after April 24th, 2025. Again, the records, maybe even have the delivery person testify. Private investigator Steve Fisher, who's been on this case from the very beginning, shared photos of some of those alleged packages. You can see the deliveries are addressed to Victoria Mendez, or appear to be. It's unclear why David would use that particular name, but, quote, proof of defendant's purchase and delivery from Postmates of a shovel from Home Depot to his home on April 24th, 2025. It's not just one item, right?
I was having the day of my life last April 24th. All right, Tulak, what the fuck were you doing last year on April 24th since you want to make this shit all about you? What were you doing? Let us know. Let us fucking know. Watch. I went to the mall and I was doing in hotel room with homeboys. Bro, what? Pause.
Collection of these very specific items that is, again, my opinion, not great for the defense. But again, we're still in the early stages of this. Uber records showing defendant's transaction where he ordered an Uber to pick up the victim from her Lake Elsinore home and transport her to his residence the night of April 23rd, 2025. And when LAPD served a search warrant at the home that David was renting or staying at after Celeste was identified, they reportedly found all sorts of evidence in the garage to support this claim, this argument of dismemberment, including biological evidence that tested positive for blood. They say they were able, again, to match the evidence to the victim's unique genetic profile. I mentioned that before. Talking about the pool again, this reportedly had multiple linear cuts. And on top of all that, according to the prosecution's brief, surveillance video and other evidence confirmed defendant was the last person to drive the vehicle on July 29, 2025, before he left Los Angeles on a concert tour. And remember, her body was discovered about a little over a month later. And the filing states that David lied to friends, business associates, and others about the strong smell of decay in and around the home and the car. So it could be very difficult for defense attorneys to say, he was completely in the dark, he's being framed, he had no idea what was happening, what was going on. Although, is it possible someone else maybe had access to the car afterwards? Possibly, but does that negate his alleged knowledge of what was going on? So it goes.
Bro, it's like, they can say whatever the fuck they want. They can try to say that it wasn't him and he was on tour or whatever. Because I remember when this shit first broke out, he was performing on tour. And like, I don't know. That shit was so weird. But at the end of the day, why are you dating a little girl? They were dating or no? They were dating, right? Like, why are you still dating a little girl? I feel like there's no getting out of this. Like, you're fucked either way. Like, you're very fucked. Like, you're done. Career's over with. Your life's done.
The idea of who may be a cooperating witness as well, right? What did they observe about the car? What did they smell? What did they ask David? So this all makes me wonder in terms of a defense. I wonder if defense attorneys could get to the point and say, look, yeah, he bought all this stuff. Yep, we're going to acknowledge that. He purchased all this stuff after prosecutors claim she died, right? They might not say she was killed, that she died. So maybe they may make the argument he wasn't responsible for her death. Maybe she died in another way. And then in a panic, he was just part of the disposal, or he helped with the disposal. I don't know if they're going to say perhaps someone else is responsible for her death. I mean, I've seen cases like this before. Out in Florida, the James Scandarito case, found not guilty of murdering his father, but guilty in connection with the dismemberment. Took the stand, told this really wild story, but the jury believed it. So in other words, will we ever really know what happened to Celeste or not? Because according to the autopsy report that was released, Celeste's official cause of death was multiple penetrating injuries. The manner of death was homicide, but perhaps defense attorneys will argue against that. Battle of the experts, say her body was too decomposed to really know what happened, to really know how she died. And then we get to this. So investigators contend that April 23rd was when Celeste was allegedly killed by David, soon after arriving at the house in the Hollywood Hills. How do they know that? How do they establish that time frame? From the court filing by the prosecution, it says, quote, at approximately 8:40 p.m. on April 23, 2025, defendant sent an Uber to transport the victim from her Lake Elsinore home to his residence. Again, the digital records will be key here. You don't always have that in other cases. They communicated before and during her Uber ride, which dropped her off at defendant's Hollywood Hills home around 10:10 p.m. Okay, so again, the digital records, the text messages, the potential testimony of this driver. At approximately 10:30 p.m., defendant sent text messages to the victim inquiring where she was. So it might be hard for the defense to say that message wasn't sent, the time frame. So you're looking at this 20 minutes, what happened? Prosecution says the people contend this was part of defendant's premeditated plan to cover up the murder, as she was already dead by this time. It's a good point, right? I mean, like, why would he text her or allegedly text her if she was at the house? I mean, is this house so big he didn't know where she was? I don't know. Or does it go to this narrative that, you know, he's trying to cover up the tracks and trying to say something happened to her? Quote, knowing he had to silence the victim before she ruined his music career, as she had threatened very soon after her arrival at his home, defendant stabbed the victim to death multiple times and stood by while she bled out. Now, I will tell you, I don't know what evidence they have to definitively establish what happened behind closed doors. This is their narrative. This is their theory. And by the way, I will get into a little bit more about the special circumstances allegations, that this is not just a murder, according to prosecutors, but a very specific kind of murder.
Bro, it's like his career's done either way. I've just said that before, but this is done either way. Like, if she would have came out and said what she had to say, he would have been canceled anyway. He just fucking panicked and killed her. This is basically what I'm getting from this. She was gonna come forward and expose David, like how Boston Richie got exposed for being a fucking for being gay. And yeah. He panicked and killed this innocent woman, bro. So crazy. Not even woman, this is a girl. This is a little girl, bro.
Motive behind it. Quote, at no time did he call law enforcement or 911 or take her to an emergency room to attempt to save her life. And that's important because they'll say that this wasn't a case like, you know, they got into a fight, she attacked him, he panicked, you know, killed her as a result of self-defense, called 911. They're ruling that out. Quote, despite knowing she was dead and her family was trying to find her, the evidence will show defendant lied and claimed he didn't know where she was. In fact, defendant drove to Santa Barbara County immediately after the victim died, attempting to dispose of her property and destroy evidence. At approximately 11:30 p.m. on April 23rd, 2025, he drove away from his home as he texted and called the victim's phone asking where she was. Again, these were acts calculated and planned to set up his defense within a very short timeline after the victim's vicious murder. Defendant drove his Tesla north on the 101 freeway to San Marcos Pass Road, SR 154, near Lake Cachuma in Santa Barbara County. Now I'm wondering if there are potentially cameras capturing this movement. He returned home early the following morning on April 24th, 2025, before going to a radio interview for the release of his album that week. He sent 2 additional texts to the victim's phone that day. day, which obviously went unanswered because she was already dead. I'm going to talk about interviews in a little bit, by the way. After April 26, 2025, defendant never attempted to contact her again. That's important. That's important. If the phone records establish he didn't text her or call her and he's completely innocent, that would be surprising, right? Somebody, at the very least, that he knows, has a connection with. She disappears. He's not going to try to contact her. Again, this is the prosecution's narrative. We'll see what the defense says, but another piece of evidence. Quote, defendant.
Wait, so I'm not going to lie. He can't, bro, the fact that he can't even like deny that they knew each other or they had anything going on because he's buying her Ubers, texting her, calling her. Like, damn, bro, that he's 100% a pedophile, but now they're just trying to prove that he didn't murder this girl. Yeah, hey, Loki, I really hope they show footage of this interview, and he had performances going on while this was happening too. Hopefully they show this stuff, but if they don't show it, we'll find some.
Cellular activity and communications derived from defendant's iPhone and Tesla, which demonstrate defendant's activities from April 22nd, 2025 through April 24th, 2025, including a trip to Santa Barbara County in the middle of the night after the victim arrived at his Hollywood Hills home. Evidence. So that's the key here, that why prosecutors are going with lying in wait, silencing a witness, the special circumstances allegations to enhance the potential penalties for the murder charge, that David planned this, that it wasn't like they were arguing and something happened or she had an overdose and he panicked. They are making the argument that this was planned, this was premeditated, that he allegedly wanted her dead to keep her quiet about their alleged secret relationship, that she was a minor, prevent her from exposing this, ruining his career. Now things like the cell phone records, the rideshare records, the digital data will be crucial, which is why it's not surprising when Steve Fisher, the PI, says there are over 50 search warrants in this case.
Damn.
That's the kind of evidence in 2026 that tells so much of the story and can be very difficult for a defense attorney to refute. Placing time, location. Now, on the other hand, I don't believe authorities have the alleged murder weapon. I don't believe there's an eyewitness to this alleged attack. I don't believe there's surveillance footage showing this alleged attack as far as we know. So is that room for reasonable doubt? And one way prosecutors are going to tell this story and try to prove those special circumstances allegations surrounding the alleged murder will also be evidence of the alleged illegal sexual relationship, sexual relations with a minor, digital plus timing. What do I mean? From the evidence list, again in the brief, it says the description of photographs depicting the victim naked, as well as while she was engaged with defendant in sexual activity when she was 13. As this evidence constitutes child sexual abuse material, the photographs themselves will not be presented. While all possible charges that could be proven were not filed, the CSAM is proof of their ongoing sexual relationship while the victim was 13 and 14 years old. So if this material is on his devices...
He's cooked. He's cooked. He's cooked. It's over with. That right there, it just really just proved like... it just proved a lot. It proved a lot without proving anything, really. Well, no. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, if they can prove that they were connected in a relationship, that opens so many doors for the prosecution. 100%.
Again, quote, numerous text messages between defendant and the victim evidencing
because now you have motive.
Pregnancy, abortion, and use of Plan B emergency contraception.
Yeah,
messages
weird,
through March 2025 prove defendant continued to manipulate the victim as she messaged, all we do is have sex and just hang out. Man, I want more than that for myself. These messages were obtained.
Bro. This is low-key actually fucking sad, bro. She's 14 telling a grown man, all we do is have sex and just hang out, man. I want more than that for myself. That's actually just like, that's disgusting, bro. But do they have the death penalty in Cali or no?
From defendant's iCloud data. So again, the digital data could help prove the sex charge. And we reported this yesterday on Sidebar, but the death certificate has been updated. this is per reporting from TMZ, to suggest that it is unknown if Celeste was pregnant, even though there was nothing in the actual autopsy report, as far as we could tell, to suggest that she was. So it is a little confusing here. I spoke to Joseph Scott Morgan on my News Nation show, Jesse Weber Live, last night. He said they may have to just do that because of the investigative findings of the messages about pregnancy and, Plan B and abortion. And because Celeste was dismembered and decomposed, it can ultimately be difficult to 100% rule out that she was pregnant. So it's not necessarily saying that she was, but how do we know for sure? It's unknown. Although I will say, if prosecutors believe for sure that Celeste was pregnant or had evidence to establish that she was pregnant, they would have mentioned that, right? That would have gone to motive. That would have gone to the special circumstances allegations. Taking their narrative that David killed her to keep her quiet about the relationship being exposed, what's better proof of this alleged sexual relationship with a minor if they could show she was pregnant with his baby, right? They would have presented that. They didn't. So I don't know how much that's going to be a factor or not, but at the very least, digital evidence allegedly establishing the relationship and the narrative. Oh, and by the way, this came out yesterday. I think this might be evidence because of what I just mentioned before. It wasn't made specifically about the prosecution's filings, but I do wonder if this is going to be part of the case because according to reporting from the New York Post, April 24th, so the day after he allegedly murdered Celeste, he does an interview on the Zach Sang show. And he was reportedly very casual, smiling, making jokes, but allegedly said this, quote, like in the process of, getting outside my house and exploring the world and finding friends, losing friends, finding relationships, losing relationships, it's just everything has kind of been shaping and leading up to this project in such a domino effect way. And when it came to writing songs about failed relationships, he said, I'm always expecting it to happen, and then after, as soon as it happens, I'm writing about it. And the host asked, but you saying expecting it to end in a devastating, tragic, sad way so it can inspire art, but are you manifesting that in a certain way? David responded, I don't know. I hope I'm not. I really hope I'm not because it feels that way. So I hope I'm not involuntarily doing that, but it might be that way. And by the way, we may also get a glimpse of what else this trial will include. I say that because evidence from a prior investigation into David and Celeste may be a part of this trial. Because the filing from prosecutors claims that LAPD robbery homicide detectives determined Celeste and David met in January of 2022 when she was just 11 years old.
What the
And allegedly
fuck?
began that.
Bro, what the fuck? 11? Wait, huh? Bro, this guy is a fucking creep. Bro, 11? Are we dead ass? You couldn't get any other bitch. You couldn't, and I'm not even trying to say like you couldn't find anybody else in this world. You had to go for somebody 11 years old. She was damn near old enough to be your little sister. I don't bro, what the fuck? Bro.
Sexual relationship with Celeste when she was just 13 and David was 18. And the court paperwork revealed that investigators have been looking into David for quite some time. The filing says detectives learned the victim had been reported missing to the Riverside County Sheriff's Department by her family who live in Lake Elsinore in February and April 2024. RCSD telephonically contacted defendant on February 17, 2024 after they identified a phone number in the victim's phone records that belonged to him. During the call, defendant claimed he had spoken to the victim last on February 13th or 14th, 2024, but stated he was unaware she was a minor or that she had been reported missing. RCSD advised him that Los Angeles Sheriff's Department deputies would be coming to his home. On that day, defendant was living at 804 North Doheny Place in West Hollywood. RCSD requested that LASD conduct a welfare check at defendant's home. LASD deputies went to defendant's home that night at 8:15 p.m. and informed him the victim was a 13-year-old runaway. Defendant again claimed he was unaware she was a minor and he had only met the victim once in person in November 2023. However, defendant showed deputies a yearbook photo of the victim he had on his cell phone. Although he claimed to be unaware of where the victim was at the time, she returned home 2 days later. Despite being informed by law enforcement the victim was only 13, defendant continued to pursue her. After the victim returned home in February 2024, her parents took her cell phone away. Defendant drove to Lake Elsinore and paid a junior high school student in the victim's class $1,000 to give the victim a cell phone defendant purchased so they could stay in contact. Throughout 2024, the victim spent a significant amount of time with defendant, including summer weekends at his home in the Hollywood Hills and traveling with him to Las Vegas, London, and Texas to meet his family. And I mentioned timing. So when Celeste reportedly died, so two parts to this. Evidence of this alleged relationship, which again goes into the
high level. Yeah, bro. Like, he's playing a ranked game of being a pedophile. And, like, you know what the fuck they're gonna. I don't think people understand this. Like, I don't think he understands this. What the things that they are going to do to him if and when he's found guilty for these crimes, because it's already confirmed that they already linked them two together. And the fact that he is like a weirdo, this is so fucked up, bro. Because I don't know, man. This is so fucked up. People need to get help. Yeah, he paid $1K. What the fuck?
Sex crime charge, which goes into the special circumstances allegations, but timing. When Celeste reportedly died, yes, David was at the height of his career. Per prosecutors, April 23rd, 2025 is the likely date of the victim's death and when all her cellular activity ceased. The night prior, April 22nd, 2025, defendant and the victim engaged in a lengthy argument described in detail in their text messages. The messages revealed the victim's jealousy over defendant's relationships with other women, as defendant led her to believe they had a future together. She became extremely upset and threatened to disclose damaging information about her relationship with defendant to end his career and destroy his life.
Yep, bang, right there. That's motive. That's motive to kill. Like, you got to think he's at the height of his career, and there's a fucking little girl threatening to ruin his career that he built for himself. Yeah, that's motive right there. But the thing is, they just have to prove it, which shouldn't be that hard. But
we don't know those exact messages, but taking the prosecution's narrative, defendant's first studio album was due to be released on April 25, 2025. He had an emerging multi-million-dollar career already in progress. He also had multiple product endorsements, which were highly profitable. So yes, when Celeste died, there was the tour, sponsorships, interviews, album release. He allegedly had a party on April 24th, the day after Celeste reportedly died. So prosecutors will definitely try to establish how he was flying high and couldn't let anything jeopardize that she was going to come out, expose him, and killed her as a witness. We told you in an episode yesterday that after David was arrested, the video game Fortnite announced it was going to refund players who made David-related purchases in his game. His label...
Did anybody buy a David skin on Fortnite? Don't lie. Did anybody buy a David skin?
Ultimately dropped him. So I wonder if that's going to be the evidence that prosecutors will use to say, look what happened. This was what he was trying to avoid. Quote, proof of defendant's lucrative career. As a singer and songwriter prior to April 23rd, 2025, defendant had an album release party on the night of April 24th, 2025, before embarking on an international tour in late July 2025. Text message exchanges between defendant and the victim on April 22nd and April 23rd, 2025, where the victim threatened to expose defendant and destroy his career. Again, all important, potential, compelling evidence. Got to call this one out too. It was reported that David's brother, Caleb, posted on Instagram, and this was reported by the account, the Shade Room, all pedophiles and rapists should die, ending with period. Now, this is an expired story, not entirely clear what this alleged post was about. Didn't mention David, but considering there was these reports about an effort by prosecutors to have David's family be subpoenaed and have to provide testimony in this case, interesting, to say the least. Now, this is the beginning stages. I am very curious to see what comes out.
He just knows he's so fucking cooked. He knows he's done. He is done, bro.
At this preliminary hearing, again, scheduled for the end of the month. That's where we'll learn more about the specifics of the evidence, maybe about cooperating witnesses, but this is kind of a sample of what prosecutors claim they have against David. We'll see where it goes. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. You can also check us out on NBC's Peacock as well. If you want to follow me, X, Instagram, my News Nation show, Jesse Weber Live, Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. Eastern. See you next time, everybody.
He deserves it for sure if he's guilty, but yeah, 97%. All right, look. Going, like, after watching this, there was like a little bit, because I didn't know the details of this. There was a little part of me that was like, this has to be overboard, right? But after getting all of the details and all of the evidence, he better hope that this is all one misunderstanding, because honestly, he's a piece of shit and he deserves everything that's about to come to him for this bullshit. And I also want to say to the victim and the victim's family, it's very unfortunate and rest in peace. But like, this is so fucked up, bro. This is like this is dead ass. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It's so fucked up.